Voila, and good evening, everybody. This is another session of Free to Heal, where I am Noreen McClendon. I'm your host and facilitator, and we are a group of formerly incarcerated and loved ones, and we come together every week trying to heal from the ravages and the scars that were left on each of us individually and collectively from mass incarceration. And so tonight, we are extremely fortunate to have a special guest, and her name is Deneen Joyner. And Deneen Joyner is a Black Indian woman born into a family of highly gifted healers from her Native American maternal side, the Cherokee tribe, and Iroquois Nation, and paternal side, Nigeria's Igbo tribe and the lost tribes of the Neri Kingdom, and I think that's how you say it. She's
Yes.
the seventh daughter and a seventh generation indigenous soul healer, and the heir of her Native American ancestors' ancient indigenous soul healing practices, bringing spirit-led soul healing, sacred God-given gifts, and impeccable counsel into the 21st century. Deneen is an international spiritual teacher and nationally award-winning author with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in adult education, along with over 30 years of previous professional social work experience working directly with children and families in trauma. She is a victor herself of healing over 4 decades of emotional trauma and drama. As an ancestral trauma expert and healer, Deneen focuses on a family's emotional ancestry, the origin and roots of detailing a family's emotional framework surrounding inherited and passed down emotional pain and trauma surrounding ancestors and descendants. She is a servant of God and humbly brings her wisdom and teachings through her spiritual business, Chosen to be Empowered LLC, and her legacy brand, Deneen Joyner 7th, by partnering with the world to bring individual and collective healing. And in light of the fact that our purpose here is to heal, as well as the fact that incarcerated people suffer various traumas, but one of the things that tends to be common is familial trauma, generational trauma, childhood trauma. Often, there are studies that have been done that indicate that a person is more likely to be incarcerated if their parent had been incarcerated. Different things. That's generational stuff. And so, what I want to do is I want to give Deneen an opportunity to. I want to give her an opportunity to talk to us about her work and what brings her here. And if you guys have questions, by all means, raise your hands. Or if you don't think I see you, just go ahead and jump in and ask your question. Yes, first you want to
welcome, Deneen.
Thank you.
That was Miss Cheryl.
Thank you, Miss
our
Cheryl.
host. That's our hostess with the mostest.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for joining us.
Okay. So you posed a lot of things that definitely is what I have encountered in my work with people who have experienced emotional pain and trauma, and that has everything to do with when we're growing up, we're recording things that we are seeing, what we're hearing, what we're feeling. And so you're exactly right, Noreen, when you say that it is highly likely for somebody who has had a history in their family of incarcerated people to also possibly, potentially find themselves also incarcerated. And so, what that looks like is that more than likely there hasn't been any formal discussion about it. Everything tends to just fall under the radar. And so, people, families have different things that happen as culture in their family, and they adopt that as normal. And if nobody's talking about it, then nobody's talking about it. And so, what tends to happen is that as children, if nobody is explaining along the way different things that we are experiencing, painfully and traumatically so, then we come up with our own version and cover story of what is playing out. And so That
I
too.
want to say about that too. What that becomes is our narrative
Yes.
in our heads. And it is where I find that we pick up the most untruthful things about ourselves.
Yes.
And those untruths, we guard them with everything. We fight to keep them, even if there's indicators to say that they're not true.
That's right.
Because of that, we tend to hold on to that and we tell ourselves these stories. And a lot of times, these are the stories that cause us pain, when in reality, we don't necessarily have to hold on to them. One of the examples of that is something that is a societal norm, but I don't know who told us that, and that is a parent should never bury their child.
Hmm.
Yahweh didn't tell us that. Who
Right.
said that? Right? The first parents buried a child. I just thought about that just now. That just hit me. Adam and
Mm.
Eve buried a child.
Yes.
It never occurred to me to just now, but to say that, like, who, but we believe that. And because we believe that, we feel like somehow we've been done wrong. We have somehow um, been wronged and it's not fair. And listen, that all may all be true, but there's nothing written that says that a parent should never bury a child. But
Right.
those are examples of things. That's an example of something that we say, and we cause ourselves a lot of pain from it because we believe it with everything we got, and we fight to hold on to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Like you said, even the things that aren't true, that are negative, that, are unkind, not loving towards ourselves, those are the things, because there is something to it. And I want to also add, while we're here, from the time that you are 9 years old, you have already experienced significant emotional pain and trauma in your life. And what tends to happen after 9 is that you're recreating it in some form or fashion, because you have not healed it or resolved it or spoken about it. And so that is why we continue to feel like every day is the same. We kind of feel stuck, unfulfilled, because we don't have really the anyone, we haven't seen it before. And we'll get to healing in a minute. But if you've never seen healing before, then you're more than likely going to find excuses as to why you don't need to heal. Or it's not even a thought. Maybe it's not even something that you're even thinking about, because we don't talk about healing. We didn't talk about healing growing up. We didn't talk about emotions. We didn't talk about
What
you
was that?
hurting. Yeah.
What was it? Healing what? I got a scratch. I put a band-aid on it. I put some mercurochrome. What's the other? Put a little salve on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep it
Certainly
moving.
not emotions.
Right.
Iodine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Put a little salve, a little
Yeah.
iodine, and, and
Yeah.
and move on. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We don't complain over here. We
Uh-huh.
don't acknowledge our feelings. We're not, that's how we're raised. We're raised to be tough. And as far as men, boys, forget about it. Forget about it.
Boys don't cry.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't. So we don't talk about emotions normally. We'll say that. Normally, that's not, our reference is to be able to do that, because nobody else, if you think about it generationally, your parents, your grandparents, their parents, that just wasn't happening. If things were tough, if your great grandparents were growing up in the depression, they was trying to get some resources so people could eat and have clothes on their back and things. They won't talk about no feelings.
And how you felt about it was totally irrelevant.
Exactly. Exactly. So the things that we know about our families, we kind of excuse. But I am here to give you permission to actually look at it, because it holds value. And it's not about pointing fingers, because I get that a lot. We have a lot of loyalty to our families, regardless if they cray cray or not.
Mm-hmm.
We make excuses, we make allowances, we turn a blind eye, but that's not helpful at the end of the day, because what we're doing is co signing it. And we
Yeah.
can no longer do that. If we want to be healthy individuals, we cannot co sign it. we have a responsibility to ourselves, to the next generation, and the next generation, and so that's primarily where it needs to start, is with yourself. Everybody has a responsibility and an authority to be able to look at what they have been through and assess where things are.
Yeah, one of the things that makes me think is that a meme that I saw that said, "You're not responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for your healing."
That's right.
Like, you don't have to, like, whatever somebody did to you, particularly when we talk about, like, if we're talking about in childhood trauma, which is where
Mhm.
a lot of it starts because it's
Yes.
generational.
Yes.
Children have no capacity to cause or make somebody be abusive to them or make somebody
That's right.
harm them or anything. There's nothing they could do for that. And they couldn't, right? They don't have an ability to do that, right? Children cannot make people harm them.
That's
There's
right.
nothing they can do. There's no, like, people who commit sexual offenses. Oh, well, they was enticing me. No, a little girl going to school with a short skirt on is not going to entice a little boy if that little boy is not an abuser. It's not going to happen. He may think she's attractive, but that's not going to make him physically attack her for that. So, but what happens is, though, is that we are, even if the damage is done, we are responsible at some point in our lives for us to get up and get over it and heal those wounds, at least to attempt to heal those things, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to continue to live our lives. We're the
That's
ones.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So in terms of um that is not going to stop it from coming through the phone, but anyway. In terms of some of the things that are generational, what are the things that we bring with us? Because when it says ancestral
Yes.
trauma, right? What does that look like?
So the ancestral trauma that I'm speaking about actually dates back to slavery. So when I speak about ancestral trauma, I want people to go back to their roots, to their bloodline emotionally. Not necessarily your ancestry, whatever your bloodline is, but I want you to actually take into account your emotional history within your family. And so the one primary factor, if you are a Black person, and you have had enslaved ancestors, is slavery. And so slavery is where everything started, as far as the pain and the trauma and the denial of identity as Black people.
Mhm.
Everything was stripped away that they knew about who they were. That was stripped
And
away.
and what that says to me too is, Deneen, is that there is something in each one of us that we are imbued to want to know who we are, where we come from,
That's
and our
right.
purpose, and what
Yes.
our makeup is, and those kinds of things. And when you take that from an entire people and you strip them of that, there's a lot that gets stripped from that. But and in the case of slavery, you and I talked briefly earlier, and one of the things I want to make sure that we talk about is that it didn't just affect Black people.
That's right.
It didn't just affect the enslaved. So I want to make sure we touch on that. But the reality is that for all of us, there is some connection to what that was, and not knowing who we are. One of the things that I talk about often here, is the identity crisis when a person comes home from
Yes.
incarceration. There's always an identity crisis because the person that went into incarceration is never the person that comes out. So now the
Yes.
question is, who am I now? And so
Mhm.
that is a rediscovery, and sometimes they have to reinvent, because a lot of people, if they do enough time, there's nobody left. The family's gone. Their piece, like what they had, all of their stuff is gone. Yeah, like Tony said, significant piece of their life are just gone. And
Yes.
so now who am I, and what am I now? What do I represent now? What is my family about now. So, but also, like I said, I don't want to forget to discuss the fact that slavery didn't just affect Black people and the enslaved, how it affected other people. And I want to make sure you got a chance to touch on that.
Yeah, so yes, you're right. It does impact, people on different levels, and primarily, European people who may have had ancestors who also were slave owners, or those who were indirectly um, a part of slavery, maybe didn't own slaves, but were still, befriending people who did. And so all of that is karma. And those descendants of those ancestors are carrying their own karma around that, maybe unknowingly, more than likely, just like a lot of, Black and brown people are carrying their own karma from that as well, but those conditions, I really just want to speak on that. The conditions of slavery, when you think about what you do know about it, there was nothing glamorous about it at all. Okay, so it was the least of the least, and it was deplorable conditions. There were shackles involved. There were conditions where 10 people were in an area for one. So if you think about even just that right there, that emotional picture, and then you think about the experience of incarceration, you can see that that same model and mold was put into place. And so you're right, when you speak about somebody who's been incarcerated and then released, you know we need to identify and talk about the fact that they have been re traumatized, if you will, because they already were connected to the slavery, the karma of that through their ancestors, and then them themselves directly now, because they have experienced their own set of trauma and pain. And so, again, if you're going back to what I initially said, if you're not a part of a family or a culture where you're freely speaking about your trauma, your pain, the things that you experienced when you were incarcerated, then it's not going to be a readily experience for you to go there. But that doesn't mean that you can't. But I do want to make sure that everybody here and those who listen later understands that, it is a process. It's a process.
And there's something, I'm sorry, Janine, to keep interrupting, but when
No,
you
you're
the
fine.
different things come up that I think are really important to point out. And this is something that we need to remember, that the early incarceration in law enforcement, it was all slave patrols. But remember also that the 13th Amendment said that the only time that you could enslave, that's still legal to enslave, is as punishment for a crime. So the concept, and then therefore what happened is, particularly with people of color, is our entire existence was criminalized.
Yes.
Like loitering, like loitering, like, yeah, loitering, or just anything that, you couldn't be on the street. Like right now, Trump is trying to make it, one of the states actually criminalized being on the street. So now they're going to put them in prison and in places and stuff like that. But that is go to school with their home. Right. And these are the things that become generational, and they
Yes.
feed into. So even like when you're talking about the person who may not have owned slaves, but your ancestors may have been the overseer,
Yes.
the ones who were inflicting the pain and the torture, and making you believe, and your ancestors believe, that you were superior just because your skin was white.
Yes.
And so now you come to find out, now that the enslaved are no longer enslaved, now you're traumatized yourself because you don't understand why you're not superior to them, and how Barack Obama, with his black skin, could become president, despite the fact that he was half white too. They never talk about his white side.
Right.
They only refer to him as the black president, the first black president. Well, he was a biracial president,
Yes, he was.
not just black, he was
Right.
biracial. But
Yes.
they never credit him for that. Why? Because through the course of our ancestors, what it was, if you had a drop of blood, black blood, you were black. right? So people, I was talking to somebody about some sports figure and they refer to themselves as biracial, which is their choice.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have to understand that the world sees them and their children as Black.
Right.
Right. Oh, I know who it was. It was somebody was telling me about Gary Owen, a comedian's son, said that he refers to
Oh.
himself as biracial. Well, he can because he is. He's mixed white and Black.
Mm-hmm.
But the world is going to see him as Black.
Right.
And he's got to deal with that as being Black. So that's the thing. But the trauma started with all of us because it was never true that they were superior because their skin was
That's
white. That
right.
was never
That's right.
true.
That's right.
And there are some generations that they cannot get past that. They felt entitled to things because their skin was white.
Right.
When in reality, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
So those are things that are generational. And I'm glad that, we're getting a chance to talk about it. And I want to ask you if you can give us some examples of ways where you've seen that ancestral kind of trauma kind of come through, and what are areas that our listeners might understand, oh, that applies to my family, because a lot
Yeah.
of times we don't think that we may not think it affects us, or
That's
that
right.
may be other people, that's not really us.
Yes. Yes. So let me just back up also and just say, because I want to highlight and make sure that people understand how a condition and the experiences of slavery could still be living and breathing today in your DNA. And so it is called epigenetics. And we were speaking about that earlier as well, Noreen, where there are studies now that actually point to the experiences of trauma. They even mentioned the Holocaust as another one, but slavery and the Holocaust, and there's many others, where it is now showing that descendants are being marked in their DNA as having similar um, genes as the person who actually was experiencing the trauma at the time. And so this happens because it was never healed or resolved. And I want to make that point as well. If
Mm.
it had been healed, then it wouldn't have showed up.
Mm.
Okay. And so this unresolved, unhealed trauma becomes passed down through our DNA, just like characteristics that you could adopt from just your characteristics through traits like skin color, eye color, if you're left-handed, right-handed. And so the trauma shows up just like that in individual family members. And you could live and have the same parents or maybe one parent household and four siblings, and everybody be exposed to the same amount of trauma and pain in their childhood, but it looked differently, and it would manifest differently in individuals because they are individuals. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to make sure that everybody understands that too. It's okay if you have your own specific experiences with things that you encountered in your household, then maybe your sister or your brother, they don't even understand it. It's not for them to understand. That is your journey. And it is really, again, on you to want to know more about that. But
Second, because
the,
Miss Show either a question or a comment.
Can she give some examples? Because I'm not understanding.
yes, I'm gonna get to that right now. So when we talk about generational curses that we've all heard about, generational curses are what shows up in our households growing up. So it could look like they're patterns that are consistently over generations. So it could be something like a single parent household. So there's just households in the family have been just mom. Mom has raised all the kids, and this is going on for decades. Okay. It
Mm-hmm.
could be mental illness. There's mental illness in the family, and it's been perpetuated over generations.
Would alcoholism be one?
Yes, addictions,
Okay.
any form of addictions,
Mm-hmm.
sexual abuse, incest,
Mm-hmm.
incarceration, poverty, illiteracy.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these would be deemed generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
And if
And
you
you know
think
what? And
about
I like the fact that you also refer to it as patterns, because when people hear the word curse, they think voodoo, they think, oh,
yeah,
that apply to me, oh, that can't be.
right,
Oh, there are patterns that are in
they're
everybody's
patterns.
family, whether they're, you know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
like that there is, you know, you use those words interchangeably,
yes,
because some people just don't want to hear generational curse, that, oh,
right.
that's, you know, that's some voodoo stuff. So,
Hmm.
but there are
Is it?
patterns, whether we like it or don't.
That's right.
Could I say one thing? Is it?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead, Chester. I'm sorry, I had muted you back. Go ahead.
Oops.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Is
Yes.
it? Is it? Yeah. Is it like being when you said the curse is almost like being dysfunctional? You know, the family household is kind of dysfunctional. Like
Yes.
they consider most single parent homes are dysfunctional families. You know, like when we went to the board, that's how they looked at us because we didn't have a two-parent home. They figured that our families were dysfunctional. So is that considered a norm or?
No, well, I would say that, single parent households does not mean that it can be dysfunctional. I've seen many, fathers raising children on their own, mothers raising children on their own, and the dysfunction is not coming from that. It's other things, it's other
Yeah,
factors,
right.
right? But
Yeah.
but the fact that it is a single parent household, and if you can look down the line and see that this has been a pattern in the family over and over again, then that's what I'm speaking about as far as it being a generational curse, generational pattern.
Yeah, because some I'm glad that you were able to clear that up, because just because it's a single parent household does not automatically make it dysfunctional or unhealthy.
That's
That
right.
is not in and of itself an automatic thing. Now, it is true
It's
that
a
very
broken family.
often
It's a
that very
broken family.
often the single parent household is dysfunctional, but it's due to other things.
Yes.
Due to other
Yes.
things. Go ahead, Diane. What did you want to say?
That's like in our family, everybody made it.
Can you guys hear her?
No,
They can't hear you. Give it a cue, Roberta. Please give it to them.
get
All the
in,
siblings,
get in
all
the
the
way.
cousins and
Can you
nieces
hear her now?
Yes.
in my family, they felt that my grandmother treated the light skinned kids different than she treated the dark skinned kids.
Wow.
And that's something they still talk about to this day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So that's definitely a generational pattern.
Yeah.
If you can see that and you've seen it and it's still topic of conversation, then and being mindful of that. So when we talk about healing, healing things, acknowledgement is the first part of that. Being able to acknowledge that, and that's huge what you just said. So being able to say that out loud opens the door for people in your family to start talking about it and dialoguing it and getting to the root, like we were talking about before. Getting to the root. Where did this start? Where did this colorism start? Why is it important? Why do you believe somebody lighter in the family is more superior than somebody darker, or whatever? But it opens the door for conversation, and you can't hide anymore.
Recording in
Exactly. Nobody can hide behind that particular thing anymore, or that particular untruth, because it's untrue that
Yes.
just because somebody's lighter or darker that makes them, or that they deserve better treatment or superior. But where did we get that from? Again, you're gonna go back some generations, right? And it's interesting to me, Deneen, because for at least since 2013, around that time till now, I have consistently been counseling and advising people who are incarcerated when they talk about their parents or their childhood, and they're angry at their parents and they're really angry at all of the things that went on. And I'm constantly saying to them, if you look at let's find out what happened in their life.
Mhm.
If you go back, the trauma that you experienced, did that happen to them? They learned, they did what they learned, but it's deeper than just learned behavior, is what you're saying, which is that some of it comes in the DNA, and
Yes.
certainly, and I'm sure you'd have to work really hard to overcome that challenge because it came in your DNA. And certainly the remembrance of the trauma. When we talked earlier, I talked to you about the trope of the angry Black woman.
Yes.
Well, yeah, if you look at all of what we've been through in this country as Black women, we got a right to be mad. Right. Right. Okay. If you ever think about it, you know what I'm saying? If you just think about what we've been through and what is put upon us and all of these things, all of this time, then what you're going to find is you're going to find a lot of trauma.
Yes.
Most of it unhealed.
Yes.
99% of it never even recognized.
That's right.
They just gloss over it as if we never got beaten. Nobody took our kids and they made us nurse their kids and feed their kids, and mom was hungry and sleep with master trying to have a husband. Nobody talked about all that.
That's right.
And how we took in other people's kids when the mom and the daddy was sold, and all that responsibility that we took on and all of that. And now at this stage, when I could feed myself, I could have own my own home, own my own car, own my own business and all that. And I don't want to be bothered with a fucked up ass dude. Come on, y'all. Miss me.
Right.
Yeah, I got a right to say that. Miss me. You know what I'm saying? Be mad if you want to. I don't give a damn. Okay, I got ancestral trauma, motherfucker. Dealing with you and your stuff. How about that? Okay, that's true, and that's true.
Oh my God, you just really gave that woman a way out, right?
Don't be mad, Terrell.
Maybe
Don't be
don't
mad,
ancestral
Terrell.
trauma.
Don't be mad, because now you know the truth. Because guess what? You got your ancestral trauma too. Look, you got your ancestral trauma too, boo boo. You got reasons. Go on and talk to me, Terrell. Go on and talk about it. Go. Oh no. I'm inviting you, Mr. Terrell. Remember, you wrong. Now he's gonna take himself off camera.
See,
You see that?
right. Right.
You see that?
Oh, yes. 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 Yes.
Run it out on us, Denise.
Yes.
What say you, Terrell?
All right. Okay, so as a Black man in America, miseducated, hunted, breeded, bucked, buck broken.
Buck broken is when wait, because I had a question in here. What was buck breaking? That is what they did to Deion Sanders' sons in this last draft. It is where you are trying to destroy the spirit of a strong Black man. That they called it buck breaking.
But not only did they call it buck breaking,
and do all sorts of things to him.
Slavery.
Now what they did is literally take this Black man, rape him in front of everybody, the whole tribe, just to put fear in others and to show we run this shit pretty much. And I don't give a fuck how tough you is. I don't give a fuck how big Black you think you are. We will break your ass down. That was buck breaking. So
and it's transformed, Terrell, because what they did to Deion Sanders' sons was that same thing. It was just in another format. It has morphed. It has morphed because you guys are too big for your britches.
Yes, it comes in multiple forms.
Yes.
That was just the physical.
Well, that's what they attempted to do.
That was a physical form in a right there in your face, up close and personal. We're gonna show you.
They're still doing.
Yes.
They're still doing it in different ways. And like Noreen was pointing out, this man was projected to be in the first round and got dropped all the way to the fifth because of his upbringing. He wasn't a child that was, went through poverty, none of that stuff. They had an affluent parent that was an all-pro and taught them the right ways, schooled them the right ways, but they did their work. They didn't just start coming to the league on his coattail. They literally was working. They went from a Black historical college to a university and turned a 1-11 team around into a formidable team. Now, when you go further, well, I could be an angry Black man because you have the Black parents, the Black man that was in the house but wasn't the father. You have the Black man that wasn't in the house that damn sure wasn't the father. You have the others, the pimps, the hustlers, the gangsters, the manipulators that may have showed that young man the wrong thing and how to treat his mama. You know what I'm saying? Then guess what? He latched on to that and became what he saw. You know what I mean? Not even knowing if you're going to grow up to be 18 just being in the streets, being in society, to where you didn't have that upbringing. Now, my generation, it was a lot of men. Even though my father and mother broke up, it was other men to take the lead. But today, they're obsolete. So
Well,
these,
quite frankly, Terrell, even when in our generation, sweetie, it was a lot of absent men. But guess what? If and I often this is something else that we didn't talk about earlier, but I often thought how people they talk about the absent Black father, but
Yes.
one of the things they never really want to discuss is the fact that systematically they broke up Black homes. And I thought about all the way, even as I'm about as a kid, I used to think about this. If you think about, in order to be successful as a Black man in slavery, you had to leave your family. You had to
Yes.
go north. You had to run.
That's right. That's
right?
right.
So you put in their DNA to get away is
That's
where
it.
you appear and become successful.
Yes. Yes.
And right, and the whole baby daddy thing, right? But and then you criminalize us, then you mock us for the very thing that you set up.
That's right.
And you did it when, one of the reasons why Claudine is such a classic movie is because when she had had that man and they knew that the welfare lady was coming, they put up the iron. Think about that. They had to hire the toaster, they had to hide the toaster, the rug, all of that, and he couldn't be there.
Right.
So this was
Yes.
all systemic to make sure that the Black family didn't sustain.
That's right. That's right.
And when you think about what it did to a man, think about this. And this is one of the challenges that the men coming home from incarceration often face. This is of all nationalities, but this is one of those things where I started not to write about it in my book, but the guy that helped me to publish insisted that I put it in. And that was the discussion about erectile dysfunction when a man comes home. And the reason I bring it up is this. If you come home, you don't have a job.
Right.
You don't have a car. You don't have a roof over your head. You don't know what you're going to do. And you can't even sex your wife or your woman. What does that do to a man's soul?
Right. Yeah.
What does that do to his self-esteem?
Yes.
woo,
Okay.
Yeah.
woo,
Yeah. So you find, and I know too many, because of doing this work and dealing, I've talked to too many families that broke up because they didn't want to discuss it. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't tell her what he was experiencing.
Yeah.
And so as a result, he would just shy away from her and shy away from intimacy, and be affectionate, but then pull back.
Right.
Had that conversation. And so there was a group of guys in Watts, about 6 of them. All of them had done at least 24 years of incarceration. All of them had erectile dysfunction issues. And when I found out that it was a thing, I asked this guy, hey, have you and the guys in the group experienced this? He said, all of us. I said, okay, but do you guys, any of you guys, talk to your wives or women about it? No. Okay, what do your women think? They think we cheating on them. Duh.
Right.
Because you got to remember, there's the myth. There's the myth that you're going to be fucking like a rabbit when you get home. Because you haven't had none. Well, that may not physically be true. It may not even be possible. The mindset may be there, but the body is.
Right.
And I try to liken it, even in the book, to back east when you have the pipes freeze. You got to leave them open a little bit so they don't freeze all the way.
Right.
When it unfreezes, you don't turn that on all at once.
That's right.
It's slowly. It took a while to get it frozen, and now you're gonna have to let it thaw out. And there's a process for that. And all it takes is for there to be communication about it. But because it's such a sensitive thing, and men are so tied to the working of their penis, it is very tragic because they're more attached to it than we are. That's the truth.
Well, we supposed to be. It's a part of our body. Shit.
Well, yeah, but your self-esteem and your self-worth and all that should not necessarily. You guys tie into it. It's not based on that. For us, that's the least of our, like, that's the end of the road. If you do everything right up front, you ain't got to do a little penetration anyway.
Now, I'm gonna be devil advocate right here now.
Who cares? You always are. But wait a minute. But let you go ahead. Go ahead and advocate, devil.
Because the thing is this. I don't care how low self-esteem man got, what he don't have, what he's lacking. If your little man ain't working, it's all bets off. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else,
Not
because if nothing else, as
necessarily
a man,
so.
For
no,
him,
I'm,
for
no,
him.
wait. Whoever said necessarily, you ain't got a
No,
dick, so you do not know.
no, for
So guess
him.
what?
Yeah.
But
As
we
a
cannot.
man,
But wait, what he's saying is this. He's talking about for men. You guys
as
are
a
not men,
man,
so you cannot
as a
tell him
man,
that's not true. He's
all
talking
women,
about
zip
men,
it.
how men
All the
feel.
women on here, zip it, because I'm telling you something
Yeah,
from a
he's talking about
man's
how men
perspective.
feel.
Okay.
I'm talking about from a man's perspective. So for women, just please zip it and just hear me out. As a man, I don't care if we got all the money in the world, we got all the power in the world, or if we broke as hell and don't have no self-esteem. If our little man not working, all bets is off. Because the tongue ain't gonna get it enough. Because
To
it
you.
ain't it's not gonna work enough. It's just not gonna happen.
You have to work
So
it.
the sexual satisfaction of a man, if he can't satisfy himself through his penis, he damn sure can't satisfy a woman. So guess what? It's gonna tear him up here psychologically. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and that's what I
That's
discovered.
all I got to say.
Which is what I discovered, which is why part of why I put it in the book, because it's really important for men to know that that is a you issue and not your woman. When you say, for example, as a man, the tongue ain't gonna get enough, listen, we'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Listen, if we want you, if we want you,
Ooh, see how cold
and
they is, man? That's how cold a woman is. She don't
I'm
give a
trying to
damn.
tell you, if we listen, if we want you, we
It
will
don't
be
matter.
content.
I got it.
Trust me. We're gonna find a way to make sure that we are content. We would listen. There's enough things we can do, but it requires a conversation, is my point.
Right. Yes.
And the point being is the self-esteem of the man, and how, because remember now, in slavery, that's what he was. He was his penis, his strength and his penis, right? Those white women they coveted him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They coveted him. If he didn't do it, they lied and said he did.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Because they wanted that man.
Yep.
You ain't never seen nothing, y'all, till y'all seen a homeless couple downtown, a white lady and a black man and baby. They was raggedy, but she was stepping with her black man, honey. That was her man, and I can't be mad because a black man, that man was gorgeous to her, and you could tell she was proud to be with her man. Okay. But just remember, psychologically, that because that is how they viewed him. If you think about the one image that they're always trying to portray about black men is that they're over sexualized and they're beasts and they're all of those things. Those are things that society does because that started all those years ago.
Yes,
and the lies are perpetrated to this day. So I wanted to, just point that out.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I thought when men were incarcerated, they gave them that's what I used to hear. They gave them something to make them not want to have sexual relationships. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard they put stuff in their food. Maybe that's why when they came home, I don't know if that was the problem, but I used to hear that. I don't know.
I'm going to let any of the men that have been incarcerated jump in. Somebody tell me what you want to say about it. D-Dub,
hey guys.
Go ahead, D-Dub. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. I mean, because we're in there so long, I mean, most of our lifers, right? It's not that it doesn't stop working, but we age, as we get older, it changes. Our sexual nature just changes. Our libido it might go down. Even if you aren't incarcerated, that stuff happens. So you're talking to guys that are long-term, incarcerated, and so we're gonna have this opinion of we just aged in there, and it's really nothing to be shameful about. It just happens, it's just natural. It actually worked opposite for me because I had a different type of erectile dysfunction when I was younger. Like I would ejaculate too quick, right? But now when I got out, it would surprise me that I could last longer, right? And so I'm like, so it was like a positive thing for me. I don't know how it happened, but it just happened. And but most guys will experience the opposite, and can't get hard and all that. And so And a lot of it, like I said, is in the mind. Stuff, so much going on in our heads from being incarcerated, and then coming out into this free world where, our minds are just overloaded with stimulus, and I think it affects us sexually, and who knows, with the women we have, that we come in contact with, or hopefully in partnership with, uh, they're gonna have to work with us. And like you said, the best thing is communicate and work around it, no matter what it is. So that's all I got.
Thank you, D-Dub. One of the things that I found, and Beverly,
Sorry.
to your point, is that I had understood that they were putting things in their food as well. But one of the other things that I found out, there were a couple of other things that I found out in talking to men about it. And one was there are some men who, for religious reasons, will not even masturbate in prison. And they have to work really, really hard mentally to turn off that desire as a grown man. And then some men will masturbate and they masturbate too much and they get in the habit of doing that. And therefore, when it comes time for a regular encounter, they either come too fast or whatever, but or may not even be able to get an erection in the first place. So there are a lot of things, but I heard as well as you did, Beverly, that they were putting saltpeter in their food and stuff like that. But whatever
Yeah,
the
so
go ahead.
Marine, I was going to mention too. Even you hear a lot about that both in county as well as when you get locked up. But I think even if you don't want to believe the conspiracy theories, from a diet standpoint, the food is so heavily ridden with sodium that impacts your blood pressure regulation, right? And so what you have a lot of is it impacts your blood flow, which naturally has a erectile impact. And so what a lot of like the guys that I would hang out with, we would talk about like, okay, you would notice your body was swollen, like to the point where you couldn't even wear your, like if you had a wedding ring or something like that, your wedding ring wouldn't fit, or like your shoes or your ankles are swollen because you were eating so much of the cafeteria food, right? So we would be more aware of even doing fasting, right, or intermittent fasting, or watching out for our diet and what we were consuming from the cafeteria, because otherwise it could have a long-term impact on your body. So that's also potential. What we thought was like, okay, it could be a byproduct for guys who have been for a very long time. If you're eating out of the cafeteria, you eat out heavy sodium, it can have an impact on you long term.
And what's important about that too is when you think about it, how many people come home with diabetes and high blood pressure from incarceration, right? Higher rate of sodium nitrate is what you're saying. Yeah. So and that definitely I'm sure has an impact. One of the guys though told me that he had to because he had to work with himself emotionally, he had to feel an emotional attachment to the woman in order for, because he tried Viagra and a lot of things. I think Viagra didn't work, Cialis worked, but then he was so sensitive that as soon as there was an exchange, he would reach an orgasm and it would be over before he could ever get started. So what he found was he had to be emotionally connected to her or really like her in an emotional way in order for him to perform. Now, what I thought was great about that, I write in the book, is that's not a bad thing because we need people to be more concerned, you know what I'm saying, and more connected in whatever reason, so that we don't have all these children all over the place from people right, we didn't talk about disease. Oh God, okay. Having children with a lot of different people because they're not protecting themselves sexually and all those things. So it does matter. And that is a thing. But again, the reason I brought it up was just to say the psychological impact of that, thinking about what that does to a person when it's the one thing you think you should be able to do and you can't. And then you have so little of everything else, like you don't have your money to flash to overcome it or whatever, and all you have is this. and you can't give everything like you used to. Maybe you used to be able to just buy gifts and do all those things, and now you don't have it like that. And so that makes your self-esteem small, you
Yeah,
know.
Noreen, I think for me, what was interesting is maybe I'm just too fresh out, being less than a month.
Mhm.
But when you experience years of being away from any type of sexual thoughts or sexual experiences, it's just not even an interest. And I would hear guys talk about how like, man, I can't wait till I get home. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I just thought to myself, like, man, that's not even on my mind. I got kids I want to take care of. I have, I need to find work. I need to help people. I need to get back to myself, and my mind isn't even in that space because when you're around hundreds or thousands of guys all the time, you share showers and you have a bathroom in your room. It's like you're just not even on that type of time. So for me, maybe I'm just so fresh out that I haven't even wrapped my mind around that thought process.
Mhm.
But to me, it's just like I'm not even in that zone right now. I'm not even in the zone.
Go ahead, Sean.
Friday, I was on my way to the Patrick O'Daniel prison in Gatesville, Texas. And we had stopped. So I text my friend Amy because she's from Waco. She thought I was in Waco. And she said, "Oh my God, I was there. It's horrible. Ask if they still have the pink drunk tank. And do they still put saltpeter in the Kool-Aid for
Oh,
women and
wow.
men? It's not legal."
And that's what she was asking you on Thursday.
She asked me Friday. We were on our way
Friday.
Friday. Yep.
Wow. Are they still putting saltpeter in the Kool-Aid? Wow.
We
So
used to eat.
clearly there are lots of people that believe, and there's reason, and you can rest assured we ain't making it up. In other words, it's been
Sodium nitrate.
yeah, sodium. Okay,
In
sodium
county,
nitrate.
in county jail, the beans or either the sausage used to have little things, but you're so hungry. You hear that, but you're so hungry that you're gonna eat it anyway, right? So, yeah.
So you know, we do have to understand and realize. I just realized how many things that go back, and now science and people like Mr. Neen are studying and being able to share with us how our history, our family history, our generations, and how those things have fed into who we are today. And I'm so glad that we're able to talk about the fact that it didn't just affect us, like it didn't just stifle us, it didn't just harm us, and that there are lots of, that there are effects all over, and the importance of the healing. And so I'd love for you to touch on how do we heal it? Where do we start?
Well, there's a couple things, and I'll probably maybe have to come back and actually open it up so I can go even deeper. But I would say, the one thing that really always tends to surprise me the most when I'm working with families and getting them to open themselves up is when I tell them that they need to talk to each other. And there's an array of different emotions around that, right? Because if you are a part of a emotional framework where nothing is spoken about, then when I pose the encouragement to actually talk to different family members, then that can create anxiety in and of itself. But I'm encouraging people to do that because that's where the information is. You know, your family members hold different stories around different things that maybe you're not even privy to, that maybe you didn't even know about. You didn't have the luxury maybe to talk to your parents, grandparents, but maybe there's an auntie or an uncle or a friend of the family that you refer to as an auntie who knows historically where your family has been, right? So it's opening yourself up to be curious. I want people to be curious about who they are and why they are, why you show up the way that you do. And the only way that you're going to arrive at some of those answers is to start to talk to people who know. So that's the first thing. Open yourself up to get beyond yourself, get over yourself, right? And go and talk. Go talk to people in your family, okay, so that you can start to get some information about where you all come from emotionally. The other thing is you have to give yourself permission. You have to give yourself permission to actually open yourself up to really knowing that you've gone through some things. So giving yourself permission to acknowledge that, yes, my childhood was pretty jacked up, and I never really sat and thought about all of the things that I experienced. I've never talked to anybody about it, never gone to therapy, maybe not even shared it with my spouse or significant other. So it starts with, giving yourself permission and acknowledging the things that have troubled you. And it has nothing to do with being weak.
Correct.
At all. It has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with that. And then also what is really very integral to healing is inviting in a higher power to guide you and support you.
What it makes me think about is literally the process to healing, especially when you talk about inviting the higher power, and makes me think about like this 12-step programs, right? And they all talk about a higher power. And
Yes.
when I was dealing with trying to get over the most painful relationship that I ever had, I had to deal with it from the perspective of an addict. Like I was addicted to this man and this relationship. And that is what I did to help me to get beyond it. And so in this context, I had to rely on that in order for me to move forward.
Yes.
And in my book, when the last chapter is like, where do we go from here? And we got to go back to the beginning.
Yes.
To fix it, we got to go back to the beginning. We got to go back to where it started, and we got to go back to how we got here, and then how can we move forward, correcting some of those things. Because I'm guessing that ultimately the goal at this point is to identify what those traumas are.
Yes.
And put a stop to them in our generation.
Yes.
Meaning whatever traumas I identify, and whatever stories, whatever mistruths that we told ourselves about our family, about our history, about our da 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 da, whatever those things are, that we uproot those and replace them
That's
with
right.
correct language, correct thoughts, and different behavior.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I also want to add, Noreen, that something that can be very powerful is for someone to actually think on, what does healing mean to you? Because for some people, it's a big monster. They think that, healing is a bad thing. They think, that it's something that is going to overtake them. They'll never be the same again if they go down, the road of recounting events that have taken their breath away. They don't want to do it.
What I found out, part of why, Deneen, is because they think that means that they have to forgive the person, which means that forgive the person that traumatized them, which means in their mind that they have to say that was okay, what they did. And none of that is true. None of that has anything to do with healing. Healing is about it no longer having the power to affect you every day.
That's
You're
right.
taking the power back from that situation. You are putting yourself in position of the person who is in control of how you feel, think, and move emotionally.
Yes.
That is the healing. That is that it is not about I have to get to say now that the man that raped me was that was okay. It wasn't.
Right.
Or that the man that molested me at 4 or 5 years old, no, it was not okay.
Right.
None of it was okay. But it doesn't have the power to make me miserable in today, which means, and I can talk to you about it without crying and being upset about it, which tells me I'm healed from it, right? I haven't forgotten it.
Right.
I haven't chalked it up and said, that's okay, you get a pass. Ain't
Right.
either one got no pass. And they had to deal with whatever they had to deal with, whatever karma came from that. You have to face those consequences. That's not on me.
Yes.
But it is not a life sentence for me that I have to
That's right.
remain under your control and under your power, despite the fact that you abused me or you took advantage of a situation or someone who was less able to care for themselves or protect themselves. So that is true. And I think, I'm a word person, Deneen. So what you caused me to do is I'm now going to have to go look up healing and that's going to be something else. I'm sure I'll gain some more things from that. So I want to thank you for that, because
You're so welcome.
that's a homework assignment for me. And I
Yes.
want to right off the bat, you are absolutely welcome to come back at any time and let us talk about this some more.
Yes, I'd love
Because it
to.
matters. And I want to give everybody an opportunity at this point to go around and shout out your last thoughts and comments as we're coming up, and I want to make sure we have some time for checkout. So talk to me. Who wants to go? Tell me what your thoughts are. Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
go.
Wait,
Yeah.
I got somebody in the room first that wants to go.
My thoughts was we need to stop living behind the myth of what goes on in the house stays in this house.
Oh, yeah.
If we stop living behind that, because that's a shadow, that's a guard,
Yeah.
that's a wall, it's a lot. So we can all heal together. It have to be separate. We can all do it together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Chester.
Yeah, my thoughts was like you said, stop hiding behind stuff and just try to be more, get more information out there where people will really know what's going on, and where we have a better understanding about things. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are too. So
wonderful. How about somebody else who want to go? Tony, you want to go?
I just appreciate the session. I thought at the end, what you were talking about, you don't have to be like you always talk about no longer being the victim, and you don't have to be a lifelong victim. And everyone has traumas, everyone has things that they need to process, but it's how you live and how you move forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? How about you, D-Dub?
Well, yeah. I was gonna say, like, healing is such a internal, just
process. It
process.
is.
Yeah,
It's an
internal
inside job,
process.
ain't it, D? It's an inside
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
And so much of it is like self-forgiveness for me.
Oh,
It's about self-forgiveness and figuring out who I was before I decided to be violent on someone, and how I returned to that point again. It was part of the healing. It's a big part of the healing for me.
Yeah, that's great, D-Dub. So that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Miss Monica?
I agree with D Dub. It's self-forgiveness for a lot of, being gone and stuff like that. So, but I really enjoyed what she says when you co-sign to the trust. Yes, that right there went, ooh. Never saw it that way. That was really enlightening. I really enjoyed this.
Noreen, I think the one thing I think about in one of my cells, it had a sign on the wall that said, "Success is the best revenge." And I do think about, healing as, to me, the best sign to know whether I've learned from an experience is to succeed at it.
Awesome.
And so when I think about healing, I think about, the how I want to be, how do I fix the generational traumas that my family had to show a better example for my kids to succeed for them. And so, not only are we talking about, taking the power back, but also thriving under those circumstances. And so that's the mission that I'm on, which is, to succeed and to thrive despite understanding where I've been, but choosing a different path moving forward.
As they say, that's bars. Drop the mic, boo. Drop the mic right there, baby. That was good. That was good, Miss Beverly. Any last comments from you, my love?
Well, I feel like I've learned something because things that happened in my childhood, I just push them to the side and try not to think about them because I feel like if I don't think about it, it'll go away, you know. But
How's that working out, Bev? How's it working out?
it's not. It's just every time something comes up, you know, and I think about it, I just try not to think about it, you
Mhm.
know, and I just push it aside because I'm like, you know, I should be over that by now because, you know, I'm old enough to be over that. So
But this is
I
a
don't know.
question
I
I
guess I
have
need to
for you though. If
go
you
back and
never
look at
dealt
that.
with it, then you never addressed it. It's just been sitting there, right? So the one thing about pain and trauma, you got to go through it. You got to address it. You got to deal with it. You got to knock it down. And just avoiding it kind of it doesn't fix it, as you have been able to see. So I'm glad that you learned something and kind of saw that, and hopefully you'll come back and we get to have your beautiful presence with us again, so that we might be able to talk about it here more and help you, work through those things. Because and what I think you'll find, Beverly, is that your circumstances are not as unique as they think, and you're not as alone in it as you think you are.
Mhm.
I found that, it's again one of the reasons why I record and put these sessions out there, because I'm always thinking that there's somebody that doesn't know that they're not the only one. So often we think in our trauma and in our circumstances that we're the only ones going through it, and we don't think that anybody understands. And so no matter what it is, the likelihood is somebody else has been through it before us. And so I like to, point that out. And I just hope that at some point you come back and get to share with us. And so has everybody did I get everybody? Just want to make sure I got everybody. I want to thank
No,
our
you didn't get everybody. Huh? Don't you see me on this thing?
child. If you don't go on and say what you got to say, go speak up.
For
Go,
real?
child.
Is that how you gonna do me? Did
Go,
I get
child.
everybody? Y'all see how they do? D-Dub.
Go, child.
Say the stuff and quit
Bro,
wasting time.
Go and say what you want to say, Terrell. We love
wasting
you.
time.
I,
See what
I
I'm
love
talking
you. Can I tell you that?
about?
Can I tell you that, Terrell? I love you.
Go disrespect. But
Did
I'm
you
gonna
have
just keep
anything?
it
Did you
short
have
and sweet.
anything? Did you have anything relevant to say, Terrell?
I believe I do.
Okay, well, let's have it.
So for me, for myself,
Uh-huh.
I had to forgive myself for all the heinous things I've done
Mhm,
as a youth before I went to prison,
mhm,
and also forgive other people that did things to me. And as I grew and learned and developed and started the healing process of myself, I was also able to know how to tell it to my mama. Shit I've been holding for over 50 years type shit.
mm,
And also give it to other people too that never felt the wrath of what I was going through. So
mm.
just the growth and development of myself and the healing process of myself, to be able to understand why I was the way I was and why I'm doing the things I do now.
This workout method.
And also to stay a part of the healing process and get people in the healing spaces to enlighten them, because we all been through some stuff, but if we don't acknowledge it and address it and start healing from them, it's going to be just like Miss Beverly said. We're going to push it to the side, but every time it comes up, it's going to be there
It's
because we
going
never.
it's going to rear and then meet you right there at the same spot every single time.
So for
And I
me,
want
I
to,
just
while I
learned
have you, I
that
want
way.
to say thank you for introducing Miss Deneen to the group. Thank you for
I'm gonna bring some to the table. Damn, God damn,
you know,
give me some. I bring some to the.
every now and again, you do something halfway. All right, Terrell, we're gonna give you that much. You know what I'm saying? Every now and again, you know what I'm saying? You show up with a good something or other. Sometimes you have something good to say, but we tolerate you the rest of the time. What can I tell you? You know what I'm saying? We just tolerate you,
I know. I hear it. I hear it in the comments, Miss Ward
I
and
love you,
Tony. I
honey.
hear y'all.
All right. But thank you so much. And Miss Deneen, I want to give you the last word. Anything that you want to say to the group?
I just really want to leave everybody with thinking about, you are your ancestors' justice.
Mhm.
And that means everything that they have endured. I mean, all of the pain and the trauma,
Mm-hmm.
everything we spoke about at the beginning of our talk this evening. I just want you to know that you have a do-over for them. And so just think about that. Think about the fact that you are still here after everything that you have been challenged with, whatever that looks like, painfully and traumatically so, including the incarceration. You survived all of that. And you didn't just do it just to say that you did it, just to check it off a list. It means that you are powerful beyond measure and you have some purpose here on earth to fulfill.
That's awesome.
And so don't let just the things that you have experienced define you, because there are greater things to you that maybe you have yet to uncover. And healing is going to allow you to unlock that. So I just pray that I made you curious this evening. And I just want to encourage everybody to just keep on keeping on.
Thank you so much. And we're so grateful to have you with us.
You're welcome.
And that you shared what what you're studying and how these things can affect all of us. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. And we will see you guys next week on Free to Heal. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and leave us comments. If there's a topic you want us to discuss, let us know. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. And thanks to everybody for joining us. Talk to you guys.